Welcome to FX Street. Today we're going to look at gold, the ES or the S&P 500, and Bitcoin, and look at their correlative and non-correlative moves and get an idea of how they're going to operate here going into the week. But before we do that, I encourage you to head on over to YouTube, join our channel by hitting that subscribe button, and then you can follow. Did I say subscribe or subscribe? Subscribe. That's Monday. Then you can follow us on Twitter also at FXS Crypto and myself at Just Analysis One. Taking a look here at these three markets. So you have the yellow line is gold, the blue line is Bitcoin, and then the green line is the ES. That's the E-mini S&P futures contract. It's the derivative futures contract for the S&P 500. And what you'll notice definitely is that, Bitcoin specifically, it's viewed as digital gold. That's how you see a lot of different, traditional equity stock market folks will reference it as digital gold, a flight to safety. But, does it really operate like that? People who are, involved in the crypto space, who are advocates of it from an idealistic and a political standpoint, do view it as kind of like gold but better. But as far as how does it move? Is it more correlated to gold or is it more correlated to the stock market? I think you can see many times when gold and Bitcoin move in the same direction, and you can see many times when the stock market and Bitcoin move in the same direction. But for the most part, the stock market and Bitcoin, they move together more closely than gold and Bitcoin. And so, big money investors, whales, whatever you want to call them, they view Bitcoin mostly as a risk on asset, not as a risk off one. That may change in the future, and it is viewed as risk off for some, but mostly, how does it move? It follows the stock market a lot of times. Look at this most recent move here. Let me just kind of highlight the area I'm talking about. Now, if you look at the price action in this range here, you can see gold rising, but Bitcoin and the equity markets were dropping. Here you can see kind of the same thing. You have gold dropping down, then kind of moving back up, but you have stocks moving back up, and really you have Bitcoin and gold pretty much operating to the inverse of each other. I mean, you have Bitcoin spiking up and then moving down, where you have gold spiking down then moving up, and this was back in between February of 2021 and through May of 2021. You go back to even further here, you look back, the big swing lows here, you saw gold equities, or the ES, you saw the gold, the S&P 500 and Bitcoin both, hit these big lows during the COVID crash. And all of them, for the most part, rose. You had gold really kind of looked like it outperformed Bitcoin and the stock market. But then what happened is you get to right around here, the top of this in August of 2020, and you start to see a little bit of a difference there. From August 2020 down to December, or no, rather the end of November, beginning of December 2020, Bitcoin went up, gold went down, and the stock market kind of traded. I mean, it went up, but it mostly kind of traded relatively flat. And then you extend out, and you go all the way to the April 2021 highs. Bitcoin rose, and that whole time, gold really just kind of went down, and the stock market rose as well. So, Bitcoin is definitely more correlated to how the stock market moves as opposed to gold. And we shouldn't really expect that to change much here going into the future. Now that may change too, depending on how things in the world go. You think of people who live in, places like Ukraine. If they had any precious metals, that's kind of probably a hard thing to take through customs and take with you and cart with you. But man, if you can remember your wallet phase, if you can remember past, a 16 word phrase, you can take your wealth with you wherever, and you don't have to pack it up. It'll just be with you in your brain. So, or write it down somewhere nobody's going to find it, something like that. But, as a source of, as a place of, risk off, Bitcoin isn't quite there yet. It's not viewed as that. It's still heavily viewed as a risk on asset. And as far as, what we should expect to do here moving forward going into the week, Bitcoin's definitely got some flattening out here. You can definitely see on the, I'll just keep using TradingView here. If you go to Bitcoin's daily chart, it's done pretty well. It's closed above the cloud. It's got an ideal bullish Ichimoku breakout, but you look at this this past head and shoulders pattern. It's that the neckline has been tested 3 different times, and we could be testing it a 4th time. I mean, it really needs to get to 44,000 in order for that to get tested. But Bitcoin, it's above the cloud, it's above the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen. Overall, it's very bullish where it's at within the Ichimoku system. However, a thin cloud is a weak cloud, so it is Bitcoin can get pushed down lower too, but otherwise you do see a lot of altcoins moving up, and I would anticipate Bitcoin moving up higher this week as well, unless something drastic changes, or I think I said in the last video, unless there's like a nuke of some sort, we should continue to see Bitcoin continue to move higher. Gold. Gold definitely looks like it's some might call that a flag of some sort, but gold has done very well, and it has moved up substantially. That's silver. There's gold. Gold, it got up to 2K, came back down below the Kijun Sen and the Tenkan Sen. If gold really wants to, show some clear signs that it's going to keep moving higher, it really needs to get above that 1980 level. It needs to get above the Tenkan Sen. It's still overwhelmingly bullish because the Chiku span's an open space, meaning it won't intercept the body of any candlestick horizontally over the next 5 to 10 periods. And it's still above the cloud, but that it's below the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen, that kind of gives a little bit of a warning of maybe some weakness coming up in indecision. So it'll really need to kind of move up here to 1980. And if you're somebody who's bullish on gold and you want it to move up, considering what we talked about with Bitcoin, then you must be looking for Bitcoin to go down and the stock market to go down, because they tend to move to the opposite of one another, but not all the time. And I think anybody who's been trading for a while will probably have noticed that gold and the stock market, they do move together quite a bit now compared to when they used to. I mean, it's not always gold, the flight to safety. You have a lot of precious metals have a ton of exposure now to tech. It's necessary. Gold and silver especially, it's necessary for, electric vehicles and solar power. I mean, all of these things require gold and silver, and they are heavily influenced by how they're used in industrial capacity and in consumer tech. So there's a lot of that. And then the ES itself, you look at the weekly chart here. I mean, it's not the NQ has been hammered. The NASDAQ, of course, that got hammered. But you look at last week's performance. I mean, blew up. I mean, that was a pretty substantial drive up compared to the last few weeks. A 6% gain, but look where it got halted, right at the Kijun Sen on the weekly chart. So if the ES wants to go back into some kind of bull mode here, it's really going to need to get above and stay above and close above the Kijun Sen. The ES is going to have to, it's like 44.61, 44.60, 44.61, a weekly close at or around that level. That's likely what's going to be needed to, trigger a sustained new uptrend. So, that's that. We'll update this next week probably, but from all of us here at FX Street, please don't forget to follow us on YouTube, go to our channel, follow us on Twitter at FXS Crypto. And hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.